All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
Welcome back to another episode of Reignite Resilience. I am your co-host, Natalie Davis, and I'm so excited to be back with everyone. And of course, joining me is Pam Cass. Hello, Pam. How are you?
I am good.
There was some reservation there.
There was a little reservation, and here's why. And I wasn't going to say anything, but this has been a really tough week. I think not only for our state, but also our country, and our kids, because I've got kids kind of in that college kind of age, and between a person of in public figure who was assassinated in front of thousands of children, and I've got friends that have kids that are in college in Utah, to in front of his wife, his kids, to the school shooting in Colorado that happened the exact same day, to the anniversary, the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And so I'm just thinking about significant events that have happened throughout my life and throughout most people's life. Everyone has had some significant thing that has happened where you can remember what I was doing, where I was when this thing happened. I mean, I remember sitting in class watching the Challenger explode as we were watching it in junior high. I'm aging myself. I remember when Princess Diana died. I was a young mother and thinking about her kids. I remember when Columbine shooting happened and I had a daughter in school. And I remember when 9/11 happened. And so these are significant events, and I find that people will gravitate towards just obsessing about the news and now social media, and they just like looking for answers to help them process, the anger, the fear, the sadness, and everything that they feel. And so I found myself going down that spiral and then trying to explain it to my kids. And so it was just it's been a heavy week. And when you think about our podcast on resilience,
Right.
what does resilience mean? And I think it's different for everyone. And it's not about bouncing back quickly. It's about allowing yourself to feel those emotions and then figuring out what works for you to be able to move forward, whether that's prayer, whether it's being with friends, whether it's talking about it with people, whatever that is. But then allowing yourself quickly to move forward.
Right.
Because we have had so many incredible guests that have gone through unthinkable things.
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of them has taken that thing and created something beautiful that is and has made a difference in people's lives.
Right.
And so I just wanted to mention it today because it's just on my heart.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, perfect. No, I'm glad that you did. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so interesting because I've connected with a couple of friends and friends that have kids that are in school
Yeah.
here in Colorado, and then just the number of lockdowns they've gone through leading up to and after the Evergreen incident. And so it's definitely been an emotional roller coaster. Um, yeah, and so just allowing space. I've been on a couple of calls today where um, there's just been space that's been created,
Wow.
just for remembrance, for appreciation, for respect. I think that's the biggest piece, is just the respect.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
I commend those leaders that can truly step up and hold that space to have um, that empathy and the respect and the understanding, because that's a big part of humanity that sometimes we forget. So yeah.
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 So, all right.
It's so interesting you go there, because I think I got on the call today, or got on to record the pod today, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's only midday. I have so much more still to do, and I've done so much already.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's just, and as you know, I am heading into a retreat
Yes.
evening, and I will
Yes.
be in a retreat through Sunday evening. And so, yeah, so it's getting myself in that mindset of being around other people, and
Yes.
I mean, and I'm excited to kind of move forward and do something that's going to be positive, and yeah.
It's going to be great. And this retreat is actually the wrap up for an entire program that you are part of. So I'm excited to hear how it all pans out for you because you've touched on kind of all the key areas of life as you've
Yeah.
worked together as a group. And
Yeah, and so this is kind of the final one. Our last one was the silent retreat, which we talked
yes,
about, and this one is called Unshakable Love. And so so I'm excited. This will be a perfect retreat to have this weekend.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I'm sure that it's going to be magical. I am positive of that.
It will be.
I love it. I love it. Well, we have a guest today. I'm partial. So, a guest that I'm excited to have on. I didn't do any arm twisting or anything. So, I want to
Oh,
just set the record straight with that.
yes.
Just why don't you tell our why don't you tell our listeners who's joining us
Yes.
today?
All right. So today, he is born and raised in Fort Collins, Colorado, and southern Wyoming on a horse and cattle ranch. Berin developed a strong work ethic and love of the outdoors. He is known for his incredible positive outlook, integrity, and calm, consistent demeanor. Often his friends have referred to him as the most thoughtful person in the room. Berin has been involved with the building and real estate industry since 1994 and has built and or remodeled over 100 homes and closed over 750 transactions. He believes in magic and is a great communicator with excellent people and soft skills. Berin has held all four insurance licenses, a Colorado contractor's license, and currently has a Colorado real estate license, as well as being a certified fly fishing guide and life coach. Some of Barron's hobbies include fly fishing, woodworking, building furniture with frequency, reading, writing, working out, and traveling. He is fond of saying, "Today is the best day of my life so far." I love that. And his current goal is to write a couple of short essays, books, and establish his own curriculum to help people heal their trauma and learn about themselves through the sport of fly fishing and being surrounded by nature. Welcome. We are so glad you are here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Um, First of all, I want to say I'm humbled and honored to be here. Um, and thank you two ladies. I think what is this, the 160th episode or
Ish. Yes, that's
ish?
exactly.
Two
Yes.
couple years. I followed the journey, avid listener, listened to every episode, and I just think it's beautiful that the two of you stepped out with courage into the unknown to give a space and for people to share their story and be seen and to give space for a community that you two wanted to foster, which I think speaks a lot to the two of you and your character and what you two are doing. I think it's just wonderful. And Pam, you were saying some things earlier, and you know, um, so my mom was a corrections officer, right? So I was around a lot of first responders, sheriff, SWAT. They used to come to the horse ranch and hunt. And I happened to be at the worldwide headquarters for Project Healing Waters, which um, heals veterans through the sport of fly fishing, is in Windsor, Colorado, here in our backyard. And I was at their headquarters on 9/11 with the CEO, John St. Langford. And the opportunity that the two of you are giving through this podcast to showcase other people like myself, and the ability to share your story and the resilience and the resilient nature of humans and love and compassion, I think personally is the healing that the country or the world actually needs for things like this week.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I actually never thought of the podcast as that, but it absolutely is that space where people can come to, and we hold that for you to be seen, to be heard, sharing your story. And our hope is for you to launch if that's where you want to go, or just sharing your message. So I've never thought about it until you just mentioned it that way. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you too for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Well, kick us off, Berin. I want to hear your story. Tell us about yourself. You went into a little bit about your mom being a correction officer. That
Yeah,
had a lot in shaping who you are. Tell us a little bit
it
about
did.
yourself.
It did. I was born and raised here in Fort Collins on a horse ranch north of town, and my parents and grandparents had cattle ranches in southern Wyoming my whole life. That moving from the city, being a skateboarder, snowboarder when I was like 12, I thought my world was over, right? No more cement. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It definitely taught me a lot about a strong work ethic and love of the outdoors. It also taught me about horses and how to rope and ride and do these fun ranch things and mend fence and put up hay and so on
Paint.
and so forth, and how to paint.
Yes.
Had an interesting childhood. My mom was a corrections officer who was married 5 times, and a couple of those gentlemen came from corrections facilities. So I went through some heartache, I would say, there, but it was all perfect. It was all perfect. Everything led up to the man I am today. And I like to tell people, your past is perfect because it put you where you are today. And perfect doesn't mean pleasant. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean for a lot of us that it gives you the opportunity to evolve into the human being. And either it's Pam, something you said earlier, I was thinking it's not always about what happened. It's about, or it's what happens after the thing, right? How you react to that thing. And I had some interesting stuff growing up, and yeah, I was able to go to college early at the age of 16. I tested into CSU, went to college early, did not end up graduating CSU nor high school. Actually, I ended up with this close to an associate's degree and got into the building industry and went to Vail for 5 years and learned how to build timber frame and log homes. And all my friends were graduating with computer science degrees and a lot of debt and no job. And so when I went to Vail, I was like, I'm not going to look back, and got a contractor's license, came back to Fort Collins, and had an opportunity, ironically, on 9/11, when it actually happened. I do know where I was because my lead carpenter, James Leedzo, his father flew the flight from Philly to DC. That was his flight, the one that crashed into the Pentagon. And that gentleman was sitting next to me as we were driving in, and all this happened. Wow. And he was freaking out because he thought his dad was on the plane. Turns out his dad called in sick that day, of all days. Right? No accidents in the universe. Yeah. A little bit later, I had a bunch of lots in Greeley, a bunch in Loveland. My uncles were in real estate. My uncle called and said, I don't know if it's a good time for you to be a builder. I've got somebody who will take your lots in Loveland. Gentleman called the next day, said, I'll buy your lots in Greeley. And another gentleman called the third day and said, I heard you wanted to buy into a real estate company. Do you still want to do that? Mm-hmm. So in 3 days, my life changed. I bought into a real estate company and got my insurance licenses, and then ended up getting my real estate license 25 years ago. And as I like to tell people, it was my Friday night essence. On Friday night or Friday morning, if you're driving to work and the boss calls and says, hey, take the day off with pay, do whatever you want to do, what would you go do? Mm-hmm. What are the 5 things you might go do when you're like, oh, I got the day off and it's paid and do whatever I want? Well, it just so happened that Friday I was on the phone trying to do another fix and flip, and you know, buy another house and do another remodel and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's what I would do. I'm a deal junkie. I'm going to get into real estate. So I can always go back to being a contractor.
Mhm.
And so that's how I got into real estate. Ironically, it was 24 years ago, right when 9/11 happened. And like I said, close to me because my lead carpenter's dad flew on that flight. And I have a lot of friends in Manhattan too. So anyhow,
Wow.
that's a little bit about my story. I've gone through some intense stuff over my life. I've been burned as a teenager, second, third degree burns all over my hands and face, which um, taught me how to paint because I got grounded for the summer and had to hand paint the barn for my mom.
We should probably go back. The burns were a result of you being experiment.
Yes,
Yeah, the burns were a
Experimental.
result.
Yes.
I had an affinity for fire, let's say,
Fire.
and things went sideways. And so I had second, third degree burns all over my hands and face. Um, I say weird things, but things that happened. I was jumped that same year, had all these teeth knocked out, my nose broken, had to have all those teeth clipped out of braces and put back in with no Novocaine.
Mm.
I want to say I've never broken a bone, but earlier this summer, I fell off of a roof and had a 200-pound ladder hit me and shatter my nose and broke it. And it had been broken before, so I think this time it broke it the right way and healed it, if that makes sense.
Perfect.
So I feel like I can breathe better.
Pam, don't feed into that. We don't know yet.
Yeah, cut my foot with a chainsaw. It just interesting things. Had a snowboard career.
Wait. You cut your foot with a chainsaw. Like you just skipped. You said it was like I got a splinter.
That was another deal on the farm where my mom was like, "Hey, I need you to start the chainsaw," and I did it without shoes on, and the chainsaw started and then skipped and then went right across my foot, and I ended up in the hospital. And not abnormal things. Later in life, I was into snowboarding, got sponsored, won a big air contest, and happened to snap my ACL and was in pre-op for surgery, and was like, I just got sponsored. I can't do this. I can't be out for 2 years. So snowboard for another couple years until I tore my MCL and my meniscus, and that's when I actually went back to CSU for a little while, and ended up buying that horse farm from my parents, and they moved to their ranch, and I took over out there. But yeah, my upbringing was interesting, and my mom being a corrections officer, I grew up around the SWAT and the sheriff, and so to speak briefly on what you were talking about today, and my mission now in Fly Fishing Saves Lives. Not, I never want to get political, but the root cause of so much of this is mental health. It truly is. It truly is people's mental health, because whether they had a weapon or not, somewhere inside their mind, at some point, they thought to themselves, this makes sense to me. This is the right thing to do. In my case with Project Healing Waters and helping them, 22 veterans a day at some point think the right thing to do is to take my own life, because there's no other out. And that is not a gun control thing, right? Nor was the shootings, nor was this assassination. This is a mental health crisis, and part of my goal is to help address that at the root cause, because I can't swear to it, but I do believe that quite possibly people who are suffering from that, even if guns were entirely illegal, would find a way to do harm, maybe not with a gun, but to do harm to themselves or others. And we have to have compassion for those people because we all go through
Yeah.
stuff, right? That's why we're here. Reignite resilience. What have you gone through? It's never about the thing. It's always what happens after the thing. And how did you react to it? And how did you deal with it? What kind of support system did you have? What kind of resources did you have? And there is a lot of resources, but there's a lot of marginalized communities that don't have access to those resources. And that's part of my mission lately, with Fly Fishing Saves Lives and being, as you mentioned, a certified guide. I had my first paying client this year in however many years I've been doing this, many years, because I normally don't charge. I've taken a lot of cancer survivors, a lot of veterans, a lot of people with different disabilities out on the water. And I typically don't ask for payment. So,
Well, I think as you build out, or you share with us like how you've built out Fly Fishing Saves Lives, I think it's important for us to take it back, like your introduction to fly fishing, and when that became part of your life, and it became a normal part of your life. Because when you talk about that Friday, like the Friday, like you get the call, what are you going to do? I know what your answer would probably be today. Not probably, it is the answer always. But how do you get to that point where you realize that it's not simply just the sport of fly fishing, but all of the additional benefits? So, kind of talk to us about your journey through fly fishing and how it was introduced and all of that.
thank you for bringing that up. I was introduced to the sport of fly fishing from my grandfather, and when you're younger and your patience might not be
Developed yet?
Might still be the same today, honestly. But when your patience is a little less than, it's easier to go back to what you know, which at the time for me was more traditional gear and bait fishing, and I'm here to catch fish. But then over time, I continued to learn about the sport and go with my grandfather. And Natalie, as you pointed out, I began to appreciate all aspects of it. And so I try and share with people, it's a lot like life and the universe and how you look at things and the positive outlook. I don't think you're going to meet a fly fisherman who doesn't have hope, because every day might be your best day on the water.
Yeah.
And you go, and so much of it is the preparation. And I say fly fisherman, fly fisher person. Women are the fastest growing segment of the sport. You enjoy the preparation. You enjoy getting your gear ready. You enjoy the drive. Most people, you enjoy the outdoors once you're there, the serenity. You get into the water. Everything in my world, everything is energy. The water has its own energy. It can touch you and move you, and then you're immersed in this experience, and you're in the moment. And we all talk about, not we all, but many of us in the more spiritual community talk about the presence of being here in this moment, in the now. And Pam, I know you did a silent retreat, and there's silence, but there's the sounds of nature, right? The water and the wind and maybe the birds, and even if you're with friends, many times you can't fish the same section, or if you do, you're watching, but you present this offering to the fish, just like you present your gifts to the world, and you don't know what's going to happen. In fly fishing, you don't know. You put it out there, and you're like, oh my gosh, are they going to take it? Are they not going to take it? That was such a great cast. I'm so excited. And you don't actually know. And then maybe they do. And then you lose the fish, but you're like, you're right back at it. And you don't quit. Most people. You're like, okay, I didn't catch one, but I'm so excited to be here. I just want to try again and again. And that's part of the therapeutic nature of it, and the presence of being right there in that moment. You can't really be anywhere else. There's a meme about that when you're out there and you're like fishing, and in fly fishing, we have indicators. They're kind of like a bobber. And you're like, oh, okay, stare at the indicator, stare at the indicator, stare at the indicator. And you're like, oh, an eagle. Bobber down. Damn it. Oh, okay. Okay, stare at the indicator, stare at the indicator, stare at the indicator. Should I have a sip of beer? Oh, bobber down. Oh, because they know, right?
Yeah, totally.
So my journey into fly fishing at first was one of learning patience, and now it's and then you start to want to go because you want to catch fish, you want to be with your friends, and you want to have this experience. And then it evolved, Natalie, into the whole experience. And now I equivocally enjoy seeing other people go out and taking them, especially first timers, and watching the wonder and the mystery and watching it unfold for them. And just because you get to experience it through their eyes, right? And sometimes it all clicks. We all know a gentleman named John Simmons. He took me on a bucket list item to Long's Peak, but I took him fly fishing for his first time in Steamboat. And we had one of those days where we caught every fish in the river. We caught so many fish. And I tried to tell him, it's not like this, John. I mean, it's like this today.
Yeah.
But this is a day that's going to go down in history, even for me. Mm-hmm. So, and now he fly fishes actually quite a bit, which I love seeing. But the wonder and the magic that happens out there is so phenomenal. And so my journey, it's been, and it's evolved even more thanks to people like Natalie. Really quick story. I was out with a good friend that I fly fish with all over the United States. And we were on a piece of water that you don't get to fish very often. It's only about 3 weeks out of the year. And you got to have an expert oarsman to help you, or know how to do it yourself, which you would only know if you did it 100 times. And anyhow, we were out on the water and on the phone, and she hears him cussing at the fish, right? And he is not happy. And there's some expletives, and fishermen know what they are. Fisher people.
It's like a common catchphrase.
It's a common catchphrase for. I'm not going to say the actual word, but it's "F these fish."
Yes.
Which is also a term of endearment for the fish that are harder to catch, and you're like, "F those fish." But
yes.
But tomorrow I'm going to go back and try again. but still. And she said, joyful energy. Don't cuss at them. Don't call them names. Have joyful energy. And it was on speakerphone, and the guide heard it, and Mark heard it, and I heard it. And ever since then, and it's been three years, maybe, yeah. Joyful energy. You put joyful energy into the water, into the fishing, and it comes back to you.
Yeah.
Even if you don't catch fish. This joyful energy comes back, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It changes the entire temperament of the experience, right? That's even Pam got to hear our fishing adventure, our first fishing adventure, you as a guide and me as being the fly fisher woman that you were taking out. And we can share that with our listeners as well. But even in scenarios like that, like we can choose to be upset or, be angry or what have you, or just like, well, that's one for the books. That's never happened before. I'd knock on wood that it doesn't ever happen again. Well, why don't we share that story? Your first trip out as a true official guide. I didn't pay. I think this was part of your coursework, so I didn't pay.
And my guide friends around the world, I apologize in advance. Those of you who know me know that I used to joke and say, it's always the guide's fault.
Yes.
It's always the guide's fault. You don't catch fish, guide's fault. Yes. Tornado, guide's fault. Weather sucks, wind comes, rain, guide's fault. Of course that's on you. You fall in the river, that's still the guide's fault. And until you become a guide. And then our first, foray out, we got caught in a massive, massive hailstorm for over an hour. Probably golf ball size hail, marble to golf ball size hail. Ended up in a duck blind with 10 other people.
Yeah.
And the hail's coming down and people are shivering and there's just doesn't seem to be an end in sight. And Natalie looks at me and she goes, "So is this the guy's fault? Is this your fault?"
Yes.
I'm like, yep, sure is.
Yep.
We're all huddled in this duck blind on private ranch that we're not supposed to be in, trying not to get hit by lightning and hail. And that's definitely my fault.
That's totally the experience, because here I am, and I have to say that you did set me up for success. All of the things that were important to me. We're gonna have snacks. I had a very cute outfit.
Yes.
It was a lovely time of day, right? Like the drive was beautiful. I was like, sold. I'm in. Let's do it. And we see the clouds coming in. I also learned that you're not supposed to talk about rain or wind or anything when you're out on the water. And so we see the clouds coming in, and some of the folks that were on the river that day, they were like, "We're going to outrun it." And that was like my sign. That was like red flag number one. I was like, "You're going to outrun what? Like, what are we outrunning?" And
Yeah.
so we did not outrun it. We're like, we're just going to continue to go down the river. It'll be fine. And then the skies opened with hail, and Berin, you're exactly right. Like, I'm looking at this sign that's clearly posted private property, but it's a nice duck blind that looks like it's safer than getting a concussion from hail on a river. So
Turns out later, the other guide said they ended up flipping over their boats and hiding under their boats.
Oh,
That's how bad it was.
better.
yes,
Yeah, but
the duck blind was it, right?
the
So
duck blind was
cramped
great. We
in
didn't
with
get in trouble.
Yeah.
And in typical fashion, for me at least, there's no accidents in the universe. As these people were filing in, sure enough, here comes a friend of mine, Mike, who's been on the water. He's like, "Hey, Bear." I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Come on in, let's go." Yeah, no problem. And we're in,
middle
nowhere,
of it.
Wyoming.
Yeah. And you just run into a friend.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
ran into.
Private property.
And the other day, I was up at
Exactly.
some secret spot and ran into my 89-year-old cousin out on the water, still fishing.
My
And
God.
he just come back from the honor flight for veterans. Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
beautiful.
I love this story because, I think so often people are focused on the outcome, like I'm going to catch a fish, that they miss everything that's leading up to it.
Yeah.
Like you said, the beauty of preparing for it, the
Yes.
drive, just all of that stuff. Because a lot of times, I know Natalie and I have traveled together. Some of my best memories were when we're like in the
The
airport.
curveballs. Yeah, exactly. It's like, when do we get the curveball? And then
those
that's what makes
crazy,
the
ridiculous things.
Right.
That's what we remember. Not like
Yes.
the amazing castle we went through or whatever. No, it's the car rolling down the hill because somebody forgot to put the brake on.
The trip in
Exactly.
Morocco, or and I, after that, the sun came out,
Yes.
rainbows came out. We had a beautiful boat ride. Later that day, Miss Natalie's in a hammock by the river reading a book. I'm and I'm still in the water. But
Of
Pam,
course.
what you said,
I'd had enough. I was like, does that fulfill the requirements for the course? Yes, done. I'm done.
I'll be in the hammock.
Yeah. But Pam, what you said, lately this has been on my heart a lot. Is it isn't about the destination. It is about the journey. Kurt Dieter was just on, who you don't know, but he runs Fly Lab and Engler Trade Media, and he was talking about, don't be a fish counter. He said he was in a shop, and the guy was like, "Hey, my sons are going, they're paying, they want to catch a lot of fish, make sure they catch." And he's like, maybe we'll see a bald eagle, maybe we'll see a moose, and hopefully we catch some fish. But if they don't enjoy the rest of that, then maybe fly fishing isn't for them, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the light at the end of the tunnel that's the illusion, right? It's the tunnel that's the illusion.
Yeah.
And the light actually comes from you. It comes from you.
Mm-hmm.
That shining light is how you show up, what intention you show up with. I know some fishy dudes, fishy women,
Mm-hmm.
who show up with the best attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and the wrong flies that they tied that shouldn't catch fish. They really shouldn't. But they have this shining light and this intention, and they're here to enjoy it, and they tend to catch more fish than everybody else.
Of course.
And they show up with that, and it's just a completely different experience because it is about the experience. I've been out, like I've rescued a baby goat back to a rancher. I got to literally almost pet a newborn baby elk. I run into moose. All of these things that have nothing to do with catching fish, but everything to do with the experience itself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, what's funny, everything that you've been talking, not once have you talked about the fish that you caught.
Yeah.
It was
No, and you know what's interesting is the ones that you catch, like when you were saying when you're traveling, it's the crazy stuff that happens, the memories. And I can promise you, for most fishermen, however they fish, it's not the ones they caught that they remember the most. It's the one that got away.
Yep.
It's the one that they lost, or the one that they almost caught, or the one that had this terrific eat and missed the fly, but you got to see it, and it was it burns in your memory, right? And you talk about it for years to come.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.